What is that in him? What's he got that I haven't?
We are the Bibles that people read now, not the, the literal carrying of Bible, but our lifestyle. Yes, we are the Bibles people read. People want to see our lifestyle. They want to emulate our lifestyle. It's transformative in nature.
Kenneth, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ben. I'm also glad to be on this show. It's a privilege and I don't take it for granted.
Oh, that's for people watching. Kenneth and I met at the International Ministerial Fringe Conference for Religious Freedom last year, a whole year ago, which is crazy. And he is honestly one of the kindest people I've ever met, and that's no word of a lie. So I really appreciate that we can do this, and it's a good way to catch up properly as well. And I should say, I'm in a hotel room, which is why this set. If you look here, you can see the purple curtains. So this setup is horrible.
Yeah.
I'd hoped it would look nicer, but this is just temporary. I'm doing a show called The British Pageant, which over in the UK. So I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and essentially this play is about the history of the church in the UK. And it's like Victorian times, which so I've got this beard, which it's been, it's been like, do you know what EastEnders is, or Coronation Street over in the UK? It's have you heard of that before?
No.
It's like it's a show that's on every single day on the television, and it's very dramatic. And I keep thinking this should be a storyline, because the amount of people I see at church and outside that are just like, "Oh, that beard looks horrible on you," or like, "You really need to get rid of it."
Immediately I just saw you and the beard. I was like, "Wow, this is the but I also have mine on too." And this fits well in the northern part of Nigeria, where we have great traditional leaders and religious leaders living their beds. It's also a sign of maturity and respect in the northern part of Nigeria.
Oh, well, that's good to know, and you really suit yours, and I wish people thought the same about this one here. All I get is disrespect. But anyway, we could talk. I'm sure we've spoken for ages on my beard, which is a less interesting topic than the work that you do. But I wonder if you could firstly share your background, what you do. I'd love to hear about that.
Oh, okay. So I will just introduce myself again. So Ameh Kenneth Seidu. Many people prefer calling me Kenneth, and I love that. And I was born and raised in Nigeria, the northern part of Nigeria. And basically, Nigeria is a diverse nation. We have over 700 ethnic groups, and over 500 languages have been spoken in the country.
Wow.
It's quite amazing. Yes, the level of diversity. It was so rich in diversity. And the level of interactions at different levels have been so nice over time, until recently, I think 25 years ago, where we started experiencing serious ethno-religious clashes and conflicts. And in the year 2001, September 7th to be precise, where ethno-religious clashes affected us, well, I was saying with my parents, and that served as a motivation for my peace work. And the initial level of interaction I usually have with my friends from other religions all of a sudden stopped. And that's, I started thinking aloud, what do I need to do to restore these relationships and to see how we can live as well, before now. And that served as a motivation for me to start building peace and ensuring that there's reconciliation in communities. And over time, that's for the past 13 years, that's what I've been into. I'm a peace builder in Nigeria, and I take my messages down to other countries outside Nigeria for them to learn new techniques, approaches to peace building. It has been amazing. The past 13 years has been amazing. It was as a result of doing my peace building work that I met you too. So I've been able to establish, rich connections nationally, internationally. I have learned a lot from people, and it has made me who I am today.
Thanks. You said there about your motivation was you started seeing this loss of civility and dialogue and stuff like that. But are you unique in? Because to me, that's quite a big deal in Nigeria. As you said, it's so diverse. You were able to see that, and then you said, okay, I've got to do something about this. Are many others doing this stuff too? What's the landscape of peace building in Nigeria?
Yeah, we have a whole lot of people who are into peace building. And for me, I see peace building as a passion. I once enjoyed peace. So seeing conflict now, I know the benefits of peace. Peace and conflict are both sides of the same coin. And I have experienced peace before. The violent conflict came in and broke a relationship I once had with my Muslim friends. And I decided to, okay, what do I need to do to restore this relationship? So that has served as a pushing force for me. It has served as a passion for me. Despite the fact that we have thousands of peace builders in Nigeria, but for me, I've been moved by passion. I've been moved by being motivated to see people happy, to see communities being reconciled, to see development in communities. That has been my passion. That has been my motivation over time. And as a Christian, to be precise, one of the values, of the Christian lifestyle is peace. It's peace building, it's love. And I said, okay, how do I bring in these Christian values into peace building? And that has helped me to stand out. And working in so many communities, rich cultures, I've been able to blend in because everyone deserves to be loved. People care less about what you say. They want to know how much you care. So I've been able to use the Christian values of peace, of love, of connections with people to be able to blend into various communities in Nigeria.
I think you're so talented at that. You are really gifted at that. I don't want to embarrass you or anything, but as you said, they don't care what you know until they know that you care. And the moment you walk into a room, it's like everyone knows you. It's like everyone's known you for years, and I think, like you said, as a Christian, that's your passion. And I think you really align with those values and you can see them. And I want to get into I'm interested in the strategies that you use for peace building, because I look at your posts and you're like playing football with people and stuff like that. But before we get into those, I just want a bit more context about Nigeria. Like you said there are 500 languages, so many different cultures. It sounds like a real mixing pot. But what were some real examples of what you were seeing that made you concerned? And we've talked before about the persecution that's going on there. Could you just explain and perhaps share some examples of what it's actually like? Because for me, it is, over here in England, we have religious freedom. The stuff we complain about is, the weather, or sometimes we're not very nice to a neighbor or something. But I struggle to comprehend what's actually going on. So I'd love for you to share that with me.
Yeah, in Africa, let me start from that level. We are so rich in terms of our cultural heritage, in terms of in relationships. We are so rich. Also, coming down to Nigeria, we are so rich in cultural heritage. We are so rich even in natural resources. We are so rich in terms of our diversity. Yes, but we have failed to understand that there are so many opportunities in our diversities. So we tend to build more on our differences and forget about our similarities. That has really affected us as a nation in Nigeria. So this diversity, in a way, they are all controlled by religion. Religion has been a major force in Nigeria. Yes, whether politicians, in the economic sphere, in the social level, in politics, religion plays a major role. Religion is a determinant in everything, in employment, in education, almost every aspect of a human life or a common Nigerian. Religion plays a major role in his or her life. And people value religion in Nigeria. And whatsoever an individual values, he or she will not take lightly with you who wants to downplay his or her own value. So in the Western world, yes, there's a level of freedom in terms of human rights. It plays well in terms of justice. Yes, it plays well. Democracy plays very well. But in Nigeria, religion controls everything. So for you to succeed or to prosper in life, you need to belong to a particular group with an identity. And many people find comfort using the umbrella of religion. And religion has served as a source for peace and also a source of conflict over time. Religion has served as a source of peace and also as a source of conflict. And many people have leveraged to mobilize using religion as an umbrella for violent conflict in Nigeria. Whether it be politics, whether it be economy, whether it be social life of the people, religion has served as a rallying point. And this has prevailed over using religion to promote peace. Religion itself and ethnicity have divided the people. Now, we have 6 geopolitical regions in Nigeria. And these 6 geopolitical regions in Nigeria has been divided into 2, the North and the South. And the North is believed to have more of Muslims. And the South is believed to have more of Christians. And in the North, if you reside in the North as a Christian, definitely you are a minority group. You belong to the minority group. And coming down to the South as a Muslim, coming to a population of Christians, you become a minority also in the South. So the level of pop violation of freedom of religion, the violation of freedom of religion in the North happens when there are few minorities in the North, and down in the South, the same thing happening as well. So the key thing is, anywhere you find yourself in any part of the country and you don't identify yourself with a group, especially religious group, then you tend to be marginalized, you tend to be persecuted, and you tend to be deprived of your own rights as a human being.
Right. That's fascinating. And what is that? What does that conflict look like? Like, what level is it at? Is it just people being unkind to each other, or is there more serious stuff going on? What are you seeing?
It's more than that. It's not just issue of hate speeches again. Initially, we're trying to battle issue of hate speeches, being kind to one another. No, it has gotten to the level of violence. It has gotten to the level of exterminating one another. ending one's life because of religion. Yes. And people being imprisoned because of blasphemy, in quotes. So it has gotten to that level where lives are being lost, properties are being destroyed across religious or ethnic lines. And most of the factors that trigger these issues, they are minor factors, but religion has played a major role over time. From colonial period, religion has been used to divide and to rule the people, as it were. So the level where we are now is at the alarming level. It's at the alarming level. People are being killed. People are being slaughtered. People are being persecuted because of religious grounds. Let me give you an example of the Boko Haram group. It's a group that was established because they feel, okay, there's a deprivation. We are being deprived of certain rights. And we need to take these rights by force, either from the government or from the international community. Yeah. So this particular group, over time, have recruited younger people whom have similar or are being deprived economically. Imagine a young person who is unengaged, is unemployed, and he is uneducated. He is looking for an opportunity to progress. And here it is, Boko Haram group coming and throwing good opportunities at the young person. He won't think twice. Because the level of poverty, even in the country, is contributing to the issues of marginalization and persecution as well. So it has gotten to the alarming rates. People are killed, lives are being destroyed, and things are not fair.
So do you think that the extremism that you're seeing and the radicalization isn't necessarily coming from a genuine passion for your faith and saying, I'm doing this for my faith, and it's more of coming from people exploiting vulnerability and giving a community and sort of building an extreme echo chamber?
Yeah, Ben, you see, the truth remains that what you can't give, don't take.
What do you mean by that?
If you can't give life, don't take life. All the religions preach this. But also we fail to act it. If you can't give life, don't take one. So it's not a yardstick, it's not, religion cannot be used as a yardstick. You can't use that as a yardstick to terminate another person's life. It's prohibited it's prohibited even in the Bible. You can't take life. Thou shalt not kill. It's spelled there clearly. And I believe too in the Quran, it's spelled there. You don't have the right to take life. But the truth remains that in any conflict you see happening anywhere around the world, there are conflict entrepreneurs, those that benefit from conflict and don't want it to stop.
Yeah.
So the conflicts the conflicts that we're experiencing in Nigeria, to be sincere, there are people who are within the country and also international communities that are also benefiting from it. But religion has served as a cover. Poverty has served as a cover. Deprivation has served as a cover over time. But the truth remains that young people are mostly engaged in these acts of violence. And I believe that with my work over time, I have come to realize that empowering these young people, de-radicalizing them, goes a long way to minimize or to reduce the level of violent conflict that's happening in Nigeria.
Yeah.
As it were.
What is the process of radicalization? Could you take us through the steps to how someone gets radicalized? And then what are the steps that you take to de-radicalize someone?
Okay, radicalization basically is an ideology. And the other way is to deconstruct ideology. It's not an event, it is a process. And you just rightly said it. Ideology is either gotten from maybe ethnic beliefs or religious beliefs. And it does not just end there, it goes to the extreme. And when people hold on to ideologies that are rigid, ideologies that are to the extreme, and they value it, I told you earlier on that whatsoever an individual values, and he perceives that you want to come against that, he will defend his value with all the strength or all resources that is made available to him or her. So that's the same thing with an ideology. When an individual has an idea and builds his life around that idea, and that idea feeds into his income, feeds into his daily life, feeds into his spiritual life, I'm telling you, it becomes part of him. So now, looking at those that are involved in violent attacks, extremists, having an ideology, how do we work with them? Now, the number one step is to befriend them. Okay, what ideology do you have? What level are you promoting this ideology? Does it add value to the society, or does it devalue the society? That's where we start from. So we don't stand up to criticize those ideas, but we look for a way to understand those ideologies and to start deconstructing those ideologies with trainings, with teachings, with exercises, and rigorous engagement.
Right.
Yes, and it takes time to de-radicalize an individual. I will cite an example. There's a project we implemented a year ago, and it's tagged conflict mitigation and youth de-radicalization. And it's a Christian and Muslim community, yes, but the Christians were also radicalized, the young people and the youths too. The Muslim youths were also radicalized. And we're like, okay, how do we give it an interfaith approach where these young people will understand their religions, and what are the common values for peace in these two religions? What are the understandings that help to build peace? What ideas do they carry? Well, how do we need to go about this? And we started meeting them one-on-one. We successfully brought them together and we started training them. Now, this training lasted for like 2 years. 2 good years before we got positive response from these young people, 40 of them. And so we started engaging them and we started asking, okay, what do we need to do for you to get busy? Because
sorry, Kenneth, just before you go, how old are these young people that you're talking about?
Okay, so ages 13 to 40.
13 to 40. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Sorry.
13 years to 40 years, yes. So we took them through those processes of teachings, of engagement, of psychosocial meetings, having meetings with them weekly, helping them to understand who they are, why they were created, and the need to leave a positive footprint behind the world before they leave. So that over time has helped these young people to add value to themselves first. Yes, then proceeding to their families, then to the society at large. And Ben, you must know this. There is no how you can successfully de-radicalize a young person without empowering him, economically empowering that young person in the Nigerian context.
Right.
Because we have seen idleness as a platform where certain groups recruit these young people and use them for their own personal political gains. So we have spotted idleness as a big weakness. And the only way to bridge the idleness is through empowerment. And empowerment, it's not just an event, it's also a process. So that has been the journey so far.
I love, just listening to you, the contrast between how someone is radicalized and made an extremist and the process of de-radicalizing them and sort of bringing them back to reality. It's like if you want to radicalize them, you subvert ideology through manipulation, and you make them, through malicious ways, you make them question everything they know. And the opposite of that is you empower them, you lift them up, you help them sort of, you're still getting rid of that harmful ideology, but you're doing it in a way that's ennobling them and empowering them. And surely that can only ever lead to good when you do that, when you give them a purpose.
Yes, let me just add to what you just said, Ben. Do you know most of the elites we have in Nigeria deliberately deprive young people of certain rights and use that gap as an opportunity to radicalize them? I will cite an example with an hungry man. He is hungry. He doesn't have food. He's on the street. And here come this wealthy man coming to offer this poor man on the street food to eat. He gives him food to eat the first day. The second day, the food goes with the condition: I'm going to give you this food, but you need to do this for me. This young man has no option. There is no alternative. And all he is ready to get is that food. So he is ready to please this elite just to get that plate of rice or that bowl of rice or the bread he is offering. That has been the situation in Nigeria. The politics of deprivation. People are deprived of certain benefits, of their rights. Then they leverage on that right or that gap to promote radicalization and extremism, especially among young people.
Right. So do you often find that the people who are vulnerable to this radicalization are the men who are the heads of the home in Nigeria, who are just trying to provide for their family?
Yes, those that are trying to provide for their families, and young people who are graduates and have nothing to do. Most of them are of age, they are 20, they are 30 years, and there is nothing to do. They are idle, there is no income, and their standard of living is just low below the minimum wage. So it's quite unfortunate that this is happening in Nigeria. Yeah.
We see this, I feel like this is a trend that we've seen all over the world with men, and the idea of masculinity at the moment is what this pressure to provide, and this, I think it's an innate feeling. I'm married too, and I feel that sort of drive. I think that's natural, that drive to provide, to bring back the bread, to win it, and maybe it's sort of an ancestral thing of like trying to impress the female. I don't know, but obviously you're talking about extreme cases where this drive to provide and this vulnerability and idleness in men is causing these violent conflicts. But elsewhere as well, we're seeing the idleness of men and the devaluation of masculinity as a big trending topic around the world. And so in your peace building efforts, what's your view of a righteous man? What is masculinity, and what are you encouraging men to do, and what are you finding works best for them?
Yeah, I'll talk about the Nigerian context.
Yeah.
We'll see how we blend it at the global level. In Nigeria, everything revolves around men. Yeah, it's like it's a man's world in Nigeria.
Right.
Yeah. And looking at the way women are treated, the way young girls are treated, it's like, okay, they are not humans. They have nothing to offer. And because they have nothing to offer, then they are marginalized from education, they are marginalized from leadership, they are marginalized from peace-building processes in the community and even in the society. The common Nigerian man sees a woman as a property, in quotes. I have paid her dowry and she needs to stay in my house, bear children, and take care of those children. That has been the mindset over time. And the question I ask as a Christian is, every human being, both male, both female, are created in the image of God. The woman who is being deprived of education, deprived of opportunities, also have gifts. She has talents, and also she's filled with potentials, ready to contribute to the development of her family and the society at large. But at the point where she's deprived of this opportunity, then how will the world, benefit from her gifts? How will Nigeria and the world benefit from her talents? How will the world benefit from her potentials? Now, that is the beginning of talking about transforming masculinity. We need to change the ideas men carry, whether older men or younger men, and see how women can be given opportunity, can be given a platform to contribute their quota to peace-building processes, to family improvement, and societal development. And the target, especially in Nigeria, for those, we noticed over time that religious leaders, traditional leaders have influence. And we can leverage on their influence to talk to other fellow men, retrain other men, and see how we can transform their ideology about women, so that we can give them the create safe spaces for women to be able to contribute that innate abilities God have given them. So over time, we've had opportunities to interact with Christian, Muslim religious leaders, traditional leaders too. We have engaged them in trainings. We have also helped them to understand that you have your position as a man, and no woman will take that away from you. You have the authority, you have the power in your hands. But what we're saying is, just create an opportunity for the woman to help you, to support you, to add value to the work you are already doing. So those are the approaches we use in our trainings. And Ben, it has been amazing.
Right.
I will cite an example with an imam we worked with a few years ago. Imam Dairu, that is his name. This man stood firm and was strongly against women in leadership position, especially in his community. He is a local religious leader, an Islamic cleric. We engaged him over time to attend our trainings, and he was like, no, I'm not coming. I'm not going to attend your trainings, because what you do over there is to empower women to lead men. Men need to become slaves to women. And we helped him to understand that is not what we are teaching. We just want you to be part of our trainings. Fortunately for us, he attended one of our trainings. And we help them to understand that these are your teachings. We respect your religious teachings. But what we are saying that is women are not mere and domestic animals. They are humans like us. We need to give them opportunity to also contribute their quota. We need to also give them opportunity to help us as men to, without a woman, we cannot really showcase our own masculinity. We need their support to be able to take our positions as men, even in society. So, taking him through these trainings, it has been amazing. For a year before he got convinced about the concept of transforming masculinity. And today, he preaches that in the mosque. his two sons have been enrolled in the trainings we're taking on transforming masculinity. He allows his daughter to be part of community development processes now. It's quite amazing. But it took us over a year to be able to convince just one man. So you see how the effort in peace building is not easy. That's why I said peace building is not an event. It is a process. Though the journey is amazing as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. I love that. And I love what you said about when we give the women in our lives more freedom to express themselves through the God-given talents and gifts that they have, and we work as equals and we strive for further equality, we will see what true masculinity is, right? Because it'll balance out, and we'll see naturally. I love that. And I think there's worry over in the West with Andrew Tate, and have you heard of him?
No.
Oh, right. Over here, everyone's talking about him over here, but sort of voices like that who are saying that, they're just not speaking very highly of women, and they're sort of saying, we need to restore the ideas in the West of having the man as the head of the house. And, there's another person called Pearl Davis. She runs a YouTube channel called Just Pearly Things. There are all of these voices in content and her thing recently has said, well, we should take the vote away from women. And she's a woman, and she's saying these kind of things and saying, look, there should be one vote in the home, and it should come from, you should have conversations, but at the end of the day, you should come together, and the man should have the final say. And I don't know that. What advice do you have for us, Kenneth, so that people can sort of stop listening to these things that are being mingled in with popular culture now?
Yeah, it's not a new thing to us here in Africa, in Nigeria, but the key thing remains: if women are not given the opportunity to have a say, whether in politics, in family leadership, and so on, definitely there will be a gap. At a point, there will be a gap, and that gap can lead to societal breakdown. Ben, you must understand this. In a family, you have the father, you have the mother, and the children, right? And it's expected that everyone has his own role to play. So imagine a society or a family whom the mom has been neglected, she doesn't have a say, and doesn't have any contribution to that home. The children will grow, their growth will be one-sided. Women have emotions that children embrace. That will be missing. Women have advices to offer. That will be lost. Women also, if given the opportunity to contribute economically, will bring about more wealth and prosperity and abundance in that family. That will disappear. There will definitely be a gap. And when that gap persists, it will affect the whole society, because the society is the smallest and basic unit. The family is the smallest and basic unit of every society. So we cannot neglect the participation of women in politics, in economy, in all aspects of life. So for the contributions or the popular culture or understanding that is going on now, to me, is wrong. There are consequences that will come with it. It might not happen now, but in the nearest future, the consequences will surface, where you will have a society where women do not contribute. And, over time, working with women, they tend to be more resilient than men. Yes, I will repeat it again. women tend to be more resilient than men. I'm not saying it's 100% thing, but for us in Nigeria, I'll cite an example with some of the programs we organize. You organize a program, you get 10 women and 30 men. After the program, they tend to come up with action plans. Okay, these are brilliant ideas. And this is what we intend to use the knowledge we have acquired here for. They will pen it down and off they go. In the next 2-3 weeks, only the women will start implementing those action plans. The men are nowhere to be found. So that has occurred over time. That has happened over time in the program. My 13 years experience, women tend to deliver more than men. So why not give them the opportunity? I know they are not perfect. No one is perfect. For women, we are not perfect. The women too are not perfect, but they have something good to offer. We need to give them a listening ear and also give them opportunity. Then, by the side, we will serve as their allies. That's what we normally tell the traditional religious leaders in Nigeria. We are the best allies for the women. We'll be by their side, then provide support and ensure that they succeed. Yeah.
I love what you're teaching, because I do think that in the West there's a tension between the sexes. I feel like there's a lot of idle men, as you realized, are taking that idleness out on women. We have the red-pilled community and the manosphere, as they call it, which, they just, every single problem that they have is attributed to women in their minds, which we know is not true. And, I'm really fortunate, when you said you could take 10 women and 30 men and we'll do the trainings and the women will show to be more resilient, to start getting things done. I'm very fortunate to be married to an amazing person. And she, the effect that she has had on my life when I was younger and, in my around 20 years old and before that, I wasn't really sure of my opinions. I was someone who floated around, I had a lot of energy and enthusiasm and I would just put myself into whatever, but I don't feel like I had my principles, and Olivia came along and that completely changed. And I remember my friend asked me, what do you think has been the biggest change? And I answered, but I asked him, what about you? What do you think when you look at me? Because I've got my own sort of understanding, but what does it look like from the outside? And he said, you can tell that you are more sure of your opinions and sure of yourself. And that has given me the confidence in my work and in my faith, in all aspects of my life. The things that Olivia has helped me and grounded me and supported me. And yeah, I'm so grateful for that, because it's given me the confidence that I think I never had. And I think that for me is the illustration of what you say of, we'll find that we're their biggest allies and they're ours, because that's the effect that they can have on us. And I feel like my proper masculinity has come out when I have been trying to have a healthy relationship and a respectful relationship with my wife. So I completely agree with that.
Yeah, Mr. Ben, my wife will always say, love it. She was like, close this business with confidence.
That's literally basically what Olivia said to me before I started this podcast. She's affirming me and stuff. I'm like, thank you.
She's like, close this deal with confidence. How much do you want for the contract? I'll tell her, yes, just let him know. And I have, in a way, listening to her, have given me inner strength to be able to speak out, to be able to request for certain things. And confidently said, okay, this is my value. And as I offer my value, you should be able to pay for it. I've been able to get that support from Lovett. And that's the amazing thing with women. They have this inner push. There's a push they have. And by the time we listen to them, it doesn't mean that getting ideas from them makes us less the men we are. No. I usually tell my friends, it's not bad to copy a good thing. Yes, you see something that is nice, is good, copy it. Okay, you're getting a good advice from a woman. Why not embrace it? Because at the end, you will shine. And that's the gap that the society have been embracing, have been grooming over time. The gap is getting wider, and we need to bridge that gap. And I really appreciate you, Ben, for this opportunity, because this is part of bridging that gap, putting in place a formidable and solid bridge that will, bring about that transformation in masculinity, and see how we can give women better opportunity.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm learning so much, you do a lot of work with women in peace building and FORB, which is freedom of religion and belief. You talked before about how men are getting, their idleness is causing them to be vulnerable to radicalization. And how are women being vulnerable to religious extremism in Nigeria?
Yeah, basically, religion, I told you, many people value religion, and it determines so many decisions in the country. Now, women too are not left out, because women or young people bear the crunch of the problems we have in Nigeria. So a young man experiencing poverty, basically, for a woman, will be multiplied by 3.
Right.
The scenario on ground. That's the scenario on ground. So if a young woman or a young girl is in poverty, is impoverished, and lacking certain necessities of life, she's vulnerable to be radicalized. She's vulnerable to start consuming drugs. She's vulnerable to abuse substance. She's vulnerable to participate in, to become a prostitute. So there are many levels at which this works. Yeah. And poverty has really ushered many women into extreme practices, has ushered so many women into prostitution, into drugs and substance abuses, and so on. It's quite unfortunate in Nigeria that this is happening. Yeah.
It's devastating. Yeah.
Yeah. So we also take them through similar processes in deradicalisation, which I explained, but we work with them as an interfaith group. And I use what we call the peer horizontal approach, where women of the same age, they're coming together, discussing their issues, and see how they can provide best possible solutions to the challenges they are facing as women.
Right. Yeah, that sounds amazing. And you mentioned there that you're doing this in an interfaith group. This is something that I wanted to ask you is, how have you found working as different faiths coming together? Why is that so important that these different faiths come together? What is the importance, and does it actually work, interfaith stuff?
Yeah, it works. What we do is basically searching for common grounds for peace. That's what we do. Bringing the Christian Muslims together, there are common grounds for peace. So we look for those areas, and that's what we use as a ground to build peace, to do interfaith peace work. then we tend to look at the areas of their differences and help them to understand those differences. So understanding the differences, try as much as possible to play carefully around them. Then looking at the common grounds for peace, then building peace on that, using interfaith approach, as it were. So that has been the approach that we have used over time, and it has worked. It has further cemented the relationship of the major religions in Nigeria, that's Christianity and Islam. And in local communities where we work, it has helped in promoting social cohesion, and we are breaking the bridges of conflict and misunderstanding.
So following on from the your response about interfaith, I want to take this down to an individual personal level, because I think obviously the principles that you're teaching and training people on, and that you're seeing working with other faiths who, the core doctrines, you may disagree on some, and some you may disagree completely, and yet you still manage to have a productive relationship with them, and you're still able to be friends with them, even though you might not endorse everything that they do or say. And I'm interested in that. In my daily life, I'll come across people who are completely different to me, lead a completely different life. And what have you learned on an individual level, what we can apply and take away from this for how we can disagree with someone and not endorse everything they say, but still be civil and still have a productive relationship?
Yeah, we're first humans before religion. So that part of humanity, that's where I leverage on. And the key thing remains, aside the interfaith work, working with groups, leveraging on common grounds, common beliefs to build peace and ensure that there's development in local communities. I still look out for having one-on-one with individuals. And it's very easy for people of other faith beliefs to respond to you when they perceive that you respect what they believe. Yeah, you respect it, despite the fact that, yes, you don't share common beliefs, common grounds on certain issues, but you just respect what they believe, you respect their differences, and help them to understand your own ground. Yeah, and helping them to understand, okay, this is what I believe, and I believe your own perspective to peace building goes in this pathway. So where can we collaborate to promote peace? Where can we collaborate to live together? What can we do to pursue peace, to pursue development, to pursue transformation that we're looking for? But there's a key path to every human's life. That is respect. Everyone loves respect. So you respect people, love people, they will give you the same thing. But out of 10, 7 will give you good response. There's tendency for 3 not to accept, or 3% to accept what you are saying, or they have an ideology that is difficult to easily be approached. So we can't have 100%, but having respect, loving, and showing people kindness, you can get 7 out of 10 to flow with you in terms of building peace, in terms of collaboration. You can't have everyone on your side all the time. Yeah.
And what principles have you learned for what can we do, say, if we want to support the things that you're doing and contribute to bigger issues? What can we do as individuals on top of those individualistic things that we can do, what can people like I do in my life to help bigger issues like the ones that you're dealing with?
Yeah, transformation takes time, and an individual cannot really transform the whole world. We just need to turn on our own light in our own little space, and within short time, everywhere will be bright. And I also I love people forming synergy, building synergy. Yeah, to say that there's peace in the localities where we stay, in the families, in our communities, and so on. So yes, whether in Africa, whether in Europe, yeah, there are ways we can partner together to make sure we experience that peace that we want. Yeah, it's you can partner through encouragement, you can partner through sharing of resources, you can partner through prayers too. Yeah, it goes a long way. And also you can partner through encouragement. There are times you can just write a note, just write a note to someone who is hard, to ensure that there's peace in a fragile context, and that encouragement boosts the morale of that actor. For instance, I've had so many encouraging mails from UK, from the US, encouraging me and giving me a thumbs up or a pat on the back. I've also had so many encouragements from you, Mr. Ben. So it's not it's not all about the financial contributions. And so no, yeah, there are times you just send a note, you just compliment one's effort, and from your own ends too, when there's a gap, you can also seek for advice. And normally I tell actors, those that are in the field, I say there's need to also have exchange learnings, like what we're doing now. You're sharing experiences of what is obtainable in Europe, and I am also sharing my African experience. These are two different contexts. Yeah. And this exchange is building my capacity, is building my knowledge, and preparing me for the future. So there is need for collaboration, there's need for synergy building around skills development, around knowledge development, and also encouragement. Those are key areas. Yes, finance is part of it, but finance does not solve all those challenges of conflict.
Yeah, well, when you're talking about these principles, I really do think of Jesus and his teachings that we find in the New Testament and elsewhere. And I actually, I think we do live in a very collectivist world, and a world of doing big things, and we forget the individual. Whereas Jesus was very individualistic. We think of grand plans and grand schemes, and if it's not big, then it's not as attractive to do. And whereas Jesus was very much focused on those individual actions. And in preparation for today, I was reading Matthew 5. I also read Luke 23 and Matthew 15, but it's just that classic verse in Matthew 5. And this is the one where he's talking about, ye are the light on a hill, which I think, again, you've talked about. You said you need to be that light in your own space. You don't need to light up the whole world. That's Jesus's job, right? But we have our own individual things. But then he obviously says, blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. And he goes on to share principles of how you can sort of be graceful even when you might want to you might want to respond in conflict. If someone's having a go at you and you want to, slap them or something, but he's like, have that poise. But for you, Kenneth, what have you learned from? Because obviously you're a Christian, and so I want to hear about your faith. And what have you learned from Jesus about peace building?
Yeah, I'm also a theologian. So, looking at the theology of peace, I look at the real concept of peace. And in the Hebrew language, you hear people saying shalom, like peace be unto you. And in Greek, erine, it's the same. And you look at the original interpretation of shalom, it refers to holistic peace. There is no absolute peace, sustainable peace, a world where there is no conflict, a world where there is food security, a world where there is no disease, a world where people live happily together, a world where people collaborate to make things happen. That's the original concept of shalom. But in the real sense, we are not experiencing that kind of literal interpretation of shalom on earth here. So, going back to Matthew 5, you just read, like the peace builders, they are called the sons of God. And that's my greatest compensation over time as a Christian. And the whole work I'm doing today, my greatest paycheck will be that I'm a son of God. I go into communities where that is fragile, communities where there's conflict, communities where it's unstable, communities where Christ have not been accepted. There are communities where I can't open the Bible to preach because I'll be killed in Nigeria. So what better approach or methodology do I use to get to the hearts of men? I am preaching the scripture, I'm not opening the Bible, but my life is a living testimony of the content of the Bible. So I tend to look at the values. What does Christ teach? He taught us about love. They need to love our enemies. They need to reach out to them. So I don't need to come up to say, okay, you need to receive Jesus Christ as your Lord and personal Savior. I won't do that because I'll be killed, and there's no wisdom in that. But I look at the principles of the Bible. I live it. Then those that are not in the faith see it, and they tend to come close and say, what is the secret? Then I have one-on-one with them. That is the best approach I have used over time. And that has really helped me to have even secret disciples in other religions, especially Islam. You cannot win them as a group, but you can win them when you have one-on-one with them. Yes. So you can't give what you don't have. So I tend to live those values, live those biblical principles, those teachings that Christ taught even during his own time. And over time, I've been able to, through the help of the Holy Spirit, draw men to God through the work I do. People see the work I do, they cherish the work I do, and they want to learn, what is your secret? Why is your work so different? People get so much resources, they move to communities, they work over time, but they don't really meet up to their targets. I move to communities where I go with just little on nothing, just little resources that come in. Like there's a project we're implementing from Bear Weather. We got just $2,000 US, but the volume of work we are doing in that community, many people thought we got hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yes, the secret is God's help. We pray and we depend on Christ to help us. And we have seen results over time. Communities become peaceful. Christians and Muslims are ready to collaborate. And whether we like it or not, as they interact, the light of Christ continue to shine in those dark communities. I have seen it, I have experienced it, and I know that God is real in the work I do.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's interesting you said that before as well about living it and allowing you as an example to sort of bring up those questions in people of what is that in him, what's he got that I haven't, that's making him so smiley as you are and kind and I remember when I was a missionary in Malaysia, I went to visit some other missionaries in this far-flung part of Malaysia. I had never been before. It was really exciting. But we had dinner with this guy who they were teaching, and I was there with them, and he said something really interesting, and he was saying how, it's quite confusing for me when you're just preaching the word because I'm new to it and I'm not really I'm not sure I'm picking up on everything. But he said, I keep coming back because I want what you have. I see you and I see the characteristics that you all have, and there's just something about it. And I just look at you all and I want that in my life, and that's why I keep coming back. And yeah, it really does work, doesn't it? When we digest those principles in the Word of God and we really put it into practice, and well, that's repentance. As we actively repent and use the grace of Jesus Christ and His atoning sacrifice, we will. Other people will see that working in us.
Yeah, Mr. Ben, over time, I've looked at Galatians 22 and looking at the fruit of the Spirit. That has also helped me and my team to do what we are doing today. Gifts are good. You can have the gifts, you can have the gifts of teaching, of prophecy, and so on. But those gifts will definitely end here. But the fruit helps you to live the Christian life very easily. The fruit helps you to live that peaceful life that people can easily see and emulate. We are the Bibles that people read now, not the, the literal carrying of Bible, but our lifestyle. Yes, we are the Bibles people read. People want to see our lifestyle. They want to emulate our lifestyle. When we talk, they want to listen to what we say because they feel what comes out of us is transformative in nature. Yeah. So people want to listen. They want to continue to come to you. They want to embrace what you're saying. Our approaches are different. They are unique. Not because others don't use similar approach, but there's a way the Holy Spirit works on those approaches. And it's just amazing that you facilitate a workshop, you use normal experiential learning methods other people use, and yours is just outstanding, and people always want to come for those workshops. Yeah. And I just see the Holy Spirit playing a major role in the work I do, especially in peace building, working in communities. We go to fragile communities where people are scared to go. I go there with my team. We come out alive. And the impact is also always felt there. Communities that I've worked in 7 years, 10 years ago, they still try to reach out to me. When are you coming back? We need you to come back. We want to hear more of your approaches to peace building. You need to come and support us here. And our responses will be like, okay, we just need resources. Immediately we get resources, we'll come back to you. but for now, just utilize what you learned the other day and transform your communities, transform your families, continue to replicate what you have learned until you see us next time. So that's how it has been over time. It has been the grace of God.
Yeah. And I wrote down a quote that you said there. I have to repeat that again. We are the Bibles people read today. I think that's so profound. I'm going to keep that one. Kenneth, what's next for Peace Corps Nigeria? Do you have two questions? Is there hope for Nigeria? Do you feel hopeful about Nigeria's situation? And what are you working on with Peace Corps in the coming months, in the near future?
Okay. Yes. There is hope for Nigeria, and it's quite unfortunate that a new government just came in, and everything is falling apart. Yes, the level of poverty has increased. The fuel subsidy have been removed, so cost of oil is high, and that has affected almost every facet of life of the common man in Nigeria. But I continue to encourage and see hope in our generation. I continue to see hope in the youth. I continue to see passion and desire for change in the lives of the young people we have in Nigeria. And I'm not discouraged because Nigeria is my home. Nigeria is my home. I have nowhere to run to. So we need to make it work. And that's why Peace Corps is in existence. Nigeria is my home. I have nowhere to run to. We need to make it work. Aha. And that's why I have Peace Corps is on ground to see how we can restore the hope of the generation we are in now, and even the next generation to come, as it were. So we've been working on several projects, developing proposals, concepts to see how we can venture into the area of good governance, advocacy, good governance projects. We want to see how we can promote freedom of religion or belief amongst women and young people. That's the project that Bearweather International is funding for now. So we are hoping that that project will be scaled up to other states. Though we have done implementation in Plateau State, but we're hoping that it will be scaled up, whereby we can reach out to women, reach out to young people, strengthen their capacities in the area of peace building, in the area of advocacy, and also in the area of sexual and gender-based violence prevention as well. And we also are developing concept notes to see how can tackle the issue of food insecurity too. Yes, climate change issues, food insecurity issues, and encourage young people to venture into our agriculture. So as they try to promote climate smart agriculture and also climate smart interventions, they talk about peace building and see how we can also mainstream issues of good governance into it. So Peace Corps is up to do so many activities. We'll have a 3-year strategic plan already developed, but we're hoping that we'll be able to get resources to fund this 3-year strategic plan, as it were.
Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you there because I was listening, but my camera heated up.
Okay.
So let's conclude this one then, Kenneth. I really appreciate you taking your time out to talk to me today. You know that I'm a huge fan of the work that you're doing, and you remind me of, I was just scrolling through my scriptures trying to find the verse that I thought was in 2 Corinthians or Ecclesiastes, but I couldn't find the reference. I need to write these down, but it says, for God loveth a cheerful giver, and is able to make all grace abound toward them. and that's what I see in you. You're a cheerful giver, following in Christ's footsteps, and I do believe that His grace will be with you and strengthen you in the work you're doing. But if people listening to this want to follow you and follow the work that you're doing and get involved with Peace Corps Nigeria, how do they do that?
Okay, we have we're on social media, and also we have email addresses that can be reached. So you can just check us out on LinkedIn, Peace Corps International. Just type in Peace Corps International, and you'll be on our LinkedIn page. Our Facebook page too, Peace Corps International Facebook. You will get that also as well. We're currently working on a website, and we're hoping that will be up before the end of the year. But for now, you can reach us through our social media platforms. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kenneth.
You're welcome, Mr. Ben. Thank you for the opportunity to reach a part of the podcast, and it's so amazing. This is my first experience, but it's great. Yeah, to share what I do and I and my team do, and also to appreciate you for your support. You have been so helpful. Since I met you in the UK till now, you've been in touch. You have not given up on us, and we're hoping that we'll have more like-minded people like you across the world to see how we can reduce the level of fragility in Nigeria, help support Christians that in Nigeria that are being persecuted, that are marginalized, and deprived of so many benefits. Your support has been great, and I believe that Nigeria will become better through the work we do, and God will bless each and every one of us. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. See you later.